So, today we're going to be talking about the Mojave Death Valley area. Huge area full of petroglyphs and geoglyphs and caves, and wait till you hear the story I'm about to tell you here in a minute. Crazy stuff, UFO abductions, a host of things that went on. We're going to be talking about a huge assortment of different things that went on. It's going to be shorter than last week's, thank God. Should go a little bit better. So let's give this a shot. Take a look, and let me know what you think. Thanks.
The Mojave Desert, Death Valley, all kinds of different things. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to tell you now is based on the work of Betsy Lewis, great author. Her first name, BetsyLewis.com. You can go and find her stuff either on Amazon.com or on our site. Her name is spelled B-E-T-S-E-Y, Lewis, and her work is also stemming from the work of Brad Steiger, Artie Sixkiller, Ron Silver, a guy named Russell from the 30s, another guy, there's a lot of them from the 30s actually. A lot of these things were found back in that time period as planes started flying over and seeing these huge glyphs, geoglyphs and such. But Betsy told a story about the Paiute and the Shoshone. Now, a Paiute chief was talking about pre-Ice Age events, talks of a race of giants that lived in the mountains outside on the edge of Death Valley. They talk of flying saucers, mostly around the Panamint Mountain area, Panamint Valley. There's a lot of caves there, and they call these creatures the Hob Mushuf. I think I'm saying that right. They had strange technology, flying canoes, which got bigger and bigger over the thousands of years. Now, they say they were there for thousands of years. These canoes got bigger and bigger. These beings, when they were on the ground, rode on snow-white animals of unknown type. They had weapons that paralyzed and other weapons that would kill. They talk about the weapons that paralyze as feeling like pins and needles, kind of like, it was probably like a taser. Inside this mountain they had a city of marble, and Irk Lee in 1932 published about these legends of the star beings and the possibilities of the area once being considered Atlantis and such like that. So all this leads us to believe that something went on there. They did find, in 1932, they did find giant mummies in the same cave. They found dinosaur bones and such. Okay, so let's talk about, and we know a lot of strange things happen in Death Valley and all around that area. As you can see, we're looking at one of the pictures of the traveling rocks that seem to have a mind of their own, probably following a magnetic force of some sort. Probably not wind like they postulate. Otherwise, there'd be a lot more going on than that, at least in my opinion. So we have caverns in Death Valley. There's supposed to be an underground lake that goes underneath there and goes almost all the way to Las Vegas from there. Probably does encompass most of it. This whole area is riddled with strange glyphs, as you can see, geoglyphs, petroglyphs, the whole works. So here we have, okay, let's talk about this abduction case I was inferring, but we'll do that in 1 second, because first we have to do this other thing, and I will start up on this abduction case in a moment. So,
okay, so we know about some of the other items found out there. Now, when I lived in Las Vegas, we were finding stuff like this. This was found up here in Maine, but we found a lot of stones shaped like this, similar to this anyway. This doesn't have the groove for like a tomahawk cut or anything, so those usually have to probably heat into it. Probably it doesn't look, actually it looks like Star of David on the bottom. Just, wow, I never noticed that actually before. But who knows what these things are? It could have been a stamp. If it's got that there, it's worn out pretty good. We don't have a lot of knowledge about things from that far back, so we're left to guessing. So let's continue on again, and let's look at some more strangeness, because there's a lot of it.
So we have all these petroglyphs and stuff. Let's talk about this abduction case. There was a couple back in 1989 that was camping at the base of the Panamint Mountain, and they set up camp, and in the middle of the night the whole valley seemed to have lit up, and when they looked, they saw thousands of these glowing orbs that descended to the valley floor and lit up the valley. It seemed to be either picking something up or dropping something off. They didn't know. They were, of course, quite concerned. And then, as they retreated back into their campsite, they were abducted. They were subjected to all kinds of horrifying things. They were scared to death of what these beings looked like. Held them for quite some time and deposited them back. The interesting thing about this is that they had been having dreams identical to each other, and they finally did go in and get regressive therapy, hypnotic therapy, and got the whole story about everything that happened. And they were able to pinpoint several things, including a couple of caves. Now, in 1932, a guy named Russell had been into a cave that seemed to have Masonic emblems or Masonic style symbols, and they found supposedly stoves that seemed to cook with microwave, or rather radio frequencies. Now this was far before 1947 when they first came out, or 48 when they first came out with the microwave oven. So it was at least 10 or 15 years before that. So probably somebody backwood engineered these things or something and came up with the microwave oven. So they also found vitrified glass, which was green in color, and if, like lightning strikes, it couldn't have been lightning strikes because lightning strikes are brown. This was green, and the only thing they've ever seen that creates the green glass is a nuclear explosion. So this kind of leads one to believe that there was some kind of nuclear war there, much like happened in India and other places around the world. And as you look at these petroglyphs, like that on the screen now, and the next area, these are smelting furnaces that they use to make silver and gold smelted ore, purifying the metals. And it shows a very advanced culture, a very advanced knowledge of metallurgy and such. And where did they learn all this? Here's a section of the desert that shows some unusual formation. You're going to find that there's not a lot of this stuff in the Mojave Valley, Mojave Desert area that you can explain in any way. It's really beyond anything that the natives would do, and they of course claim that they were not responsible for anything but a lot of the petroglyphs were left there to warn others not to enter the valley because of the giants and such. Now we're talking 20,000 plus years ago, and probably much, much further back than that. The possibility that giants reigned in this valley becomes a little more apparent as we look at some of these cave structures. You have to remember that the smallest of these cave entrances, at least in this one area, there's smaller ones other places, but most of these were 12 feet plus in height, and at least the area of the Panamint mountain areas. There seems to have been a smaller race that occupied some caves in another area of the Mojave. The petroglyphs show the giant figures. These are, of course, the geoglyphs, and they show huge. Oh, of course, it's huge. It's meant to be seen from the air. Makes one wonder if maybe these flying canoes were in fact real, and they were trying to signal to them after they left. Of course, they probably all died in this nuclear battle that was supposedly happened, and there's a possibility that there were other races at war with each other. All sky people were probably not the same, probably different races. Of course, as I said earlier, we don't know, so we have to guess at a lot of this stuff that was intended. And sometimes with Native Americans, you just got to take them at their word because they meant what they said in most cases. This is one of the geoglyphs that's been preserved with a fence around it so that it can't be messed up like they did at Nazca. So let's take this as a face value. Let's say that there were indeed giants at this location, and let's also assume that these giants were not necessarily aggressive towards the natives. As a matter of fact, they were killing any natives that approached, and there was a story of an Indian chief who lost the love of his life, and he went to these people to be killed by them. He wanted to go and join his loved one. Well, they refused to do this. Instead, they took him into their city and they showed him all the wonders that they had, and that the future of his people was a bright one, and that he had every reason to live, and the future of the earth was theirs to inherit. And because the sky people did indeed love the Paiute Indians, they loved their culture and their down-to-earth ways, is the way it was projected. So they were given the permission to enter the valley and to perform their rites that they had performed for millennia. And so the Paiutes paid homage to these sky people. And I mean respect, not gifts and all that kind of thing. So here we have some more petroglyphs, and then we're going to switch over here. Now this is some engravings on a rock that is a little bit different than the rest. This has a camel imprint fossil in the stone. Now this is interesting because camels are not typically known to be in this area, but at some point in the past they were. So this is our giant stone. Now, what does this look like? It looks very similar to that one they found in Turkey, where one person could roll the stone by themselves and seal up the cave. So they found one of these in Death Valley, or in the Mojave Valley, Mojave Desert. This is Mount Panamint, of course. And as you look at some of these caves, you can tell that was 20 plus feet tall, that one. So let's assume that these were giants and they were in this valley. They were in this mountain range, this desolate, terribly desolate area. Very hard place to live. But somehow these people did. So the animals were said to be aggressive to everyone except for these giants. Now, they didn't get into real deep detail on these unknown animals. Perhaps they were camels. I don't know. So, moving along, we go to, well, we're back to my little stone wheel here. This is quite interesting. It's an interesting way to seal up a cave to deny entry. Obviously, there's rubble built up around this one, and a lot has to be done. I believe that the government now has this all blocked off, especially the caves where they found the microwave ovens and stuff, or radio frequency ovens, or whatever they were. Here's inside one of the caves. As you can tell, it was definitely hewn by intellectual, not Mother Nature. Perfectly round hole where the stone would have been rolled into place. As you can see, that would have done the job nicely. I would love to get in there and excavate a lot of that. Get it all cleaned up like it was originally, sift through the dirt, see what's there. So that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this week's show.